Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around to join us to talk as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, a little bit of television, a few other things here and there. And it is, of course, Thursday, which means I am joined by two very special guests. Of course, we have Erin Cummings and we have Joey Bishop.
Hello, good morning. As our Twitter friend Darren Barnes just pointed out to me, in the UK, it's actually No Trousers Thursday.
No, so stand corrected.
Yes, thank you so much for that. And Joey is so excited because she's going to see Mummy and Lucifer tomorrow.
Okay, so yeah, that
I just wanted to jump into that because I'm very excited.
Okay,
clearly,
and I'm going to be honest. I'm going to tell you guys right now. I'll keep an eye on the community tab on the YouTube channel. There's a 50-50 chance I may not do a John Campea Show tomorrow because, much like when Umbrella Academy launched, I took the day off so I could binge watch the Umbrella Academy. I very well may be binge watching Lucifer tomorrow, and of course, Lucifer in episode 2. Erin Cummings is going to be in this season of Lucifer because it's already like one of my favorite shows on TV. And of course, now you're going to be in it. Now, obviously, I don't want you to give anything away, but what is your experience like? Because, you know, you've worked on The Flash. You've worked on Blacklist. You've worked, I mean, tons of shows. Your resume is getting longer every single year. But
thank God.
But what was, because I'm particularly interested in... and of course, Lucifer, what was your experience like working over on Lucifer?
You know what? It was great. And I have to give a huge shout out to two people. Number one, Leslie Ann Brandt, who is one of my besties. And we've been friends ever since we worked together and shared Trailer F on the set of Spartacus in New Zealand. She said, I am getting you on this show, because we thought that it was going to be the last season of Lucifer. And thankfully, Rebecca Mangieri-Reed, who was the casting director for the pilot of All Rise, and he cast me in that, is also the casting director of Lucifer. So it was kind of an easy sell. Leslie Ann was like, Rebecca, what do we have coming down the pipeline? Rebecca said, we have this really fun character, is going to be able to show a bit of Erin's range as an actress. So she had me come in. By the way,
it's brought up on screen. So Leslie Ann Brandt, so people know who you're talking
about. She plays Maze, yes. And she
one
is
of my favorite characters on television, by the way.
And Leslie Ann has some really incredible things that she gets to do this season as well. I won't give any of that away, but Maze does some, you're just going to want to watch Maze. She's just so wonderful. And so Leslie Ann was great. And I went to the audition. I called her right afterwards and she goes, I've already emailed all the producers and the writers and the director, but apparently I didn't need to do any of that because you smashed the audition. It's nice when you get to go in and you have someone fighting for you, but then you also hear that you did a good job anyway. So it kind of all comes together in a beautiful way. I think it's always nice to have someone going to bat to go, hey, if you hire her, she's not going to be a weirdo. Because that is part of it, you know, and so it's always nice to have that. I worked with Tom and Lauren, the two leads of the show. I didn't, unfortunately, have any scenes with Leslie Ann, but we did get to hang out at the table read. I had a really fantastic experience. Tom and Lauren couldn't have been kinder. And Tom Ellis did a pilot with my husband, Tom Degnan.
I didn't know this.
Well, the pilot didn't get picked up. It was with Tom Ellis and Janet Montgomery, who I actually had coffee with.
You did tell me about this one.
Yeah, it was a pilot called Gothica that never made it. And Tom Ellis played, I believe he played Frankenstein, and my husband played Frankenstein's monster, because Tom is a pretty big guy. So it was kind of nice just being able to be full circle, and between the scenes, it's always lovely to have a nice rapport. And
now, you and Leslie, you worked on Spartacus together, of course.
And we didn't have any scenes together, but we became very, very good friends.
Well, yeah, I was
very close.
Is that where you guys got to know each other, was at Spartacus? Did you guys know each other even before Spartacus? Or
no, so Leslie Ann is originally from South Africa, but she had moved, her family had moved to New Zealand, and she worked on a show in New Zealand, and then she got Spartacus playing the character of Navia, the first Navia. She was later recast when she decided to leave the show. But that first season, yeah, we were thick as thieves and got into quite a bit of trouble, thankfully, prior to a lot of social media. So, yeah, we had a really good time in New Zealand, and we reunited. We stayed friends here in LA, took some time, ended up sort of having some distance as friendships happen. And then we reunited at the Spartacus convention in Paris. And we're like, why aren't we hanging out all the time? Because we have nothing but fun together. And thankfully, our husbands, Chris Gilbert and Tom Degnan, they have a little bromance going on, and sometimes play golf together. So the four of us, as well as their son Kingston, we're really close. And so I'm a big fan of Lucifer, specifically because of Leslie Ann.
Right, and this is great for me because it's like my two worlds colliding. That I love Lucifer so much, and obviously you. So it's like it's kind of like this is a better version than when you were on The Flash. Like, don't get me, I loved it when you were on The Flash. Don't get me wrong, but this is even better. This is even better for me. So hey, listen, guys, don't forget Lucifer. Season 5 launches tomorrow, and we may or may not have a John Campea Show tomorrow. Listen, guys, here's how we're going to do today's show, all right? We're going to do main topics here off the top for the first half. Then in the second half of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. Now, if you'd like to get a comment or question on the live part of the show, simply use the tip link at the top of the description of this video. You can see it and click on it there, or you can enter it manually, just streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question on the show if it's within reason, and you'll be supporting the show at the same time. With that down, let's get to one off the top before we get into all the other stuff. And this is literally something that just dropped about a half hour ago that a lot of us are going to be very interested in. Now, of course, we know Matt Reeves's The Batman is coming. We know that. Robert Pattinson's there, very big on that. They've got a terrific cast lined up across the board on that. We know he's going a little more gritty. We've already seen some kind of snapshots from behind the scenes taken. Well, today, as you can see from behind me there, today we've had the first official look at the official logo. What Matt Reeves released on Twitter is what he is calling the official logo of the new Batman movie, which we see there immediately, and some specific key art made by Jim Lee himself, who actually made some art for it that is supposed to be representative. Now, of course, this black and white drawing is not going to be in the movie, as far as we know, but a Jim Lee's iteration, if you will, of what we're seeing in this new movie. The logo there, I got to tell you, to me, the Batman costume is the Batman costume. I don't really care. As long as I can look at the costume and say, oh, yeah, that's clearly Batman. I don't really care. Some people, it's a big deal to them if is it black or is it gray? Or is it gray number 43? Or is it gray number 47? I mean, I don't really care, to be honest. And the bat symbol is another thing. I don't really care. As long as I can look at it and instantly identify it as the bat symbol. I don't care if it's a thinner one. I don't care if it's a fat one. I really don't care. It makes no difference to how good or bad a movie is. But I will say, when I first saw this new iteration of the bat symbol, which is reflective of some other versions we've seen before, I was like, yeah, whatever. But I got to admit, it is growing on me even more. And I think it's almost representative of the type of Batman that we're going to be getting. So, yeah, listen, all this is art, okay? All it is art. This logo and this Jim Lee sketch is not going to make Matt Reeves's Batman movie one iota better or one iota worse. I know that, okay? So I'm not saying it. All I'm saying is I'm liking this art. I think the art looks really cool and I'm enjoying what I'm seeing. Aaron, it's funny when you look at fan bases because we get excited about the littlest thing.
Sure.
Like if there's a new Marvel movie coming out, ooh, Kevin Feige just tweeted out a picture of Thor's toe, woo, and everybody loses their mind, and the same thing. But it is pretty cool when you get to start seeing your first tangible, evidence of life of a project we've been looking forward to. Anyway, you had a chance to take a look at this art. What do you think of it?
Well, just to piggyback on what you were saying, it can also have the opposite reaction, such as the case of the Wonder Woman television show, where the sneak peek of Wonder Woman's costume pretty much made that pilot dead in the water. Here's what I really enjoy. I like the logo. I like it because it really gives us an idea that we are going dark, dark, dark on this. In fact, even the font alone for the Batman, but the bat itself is not so crisp as we're used to seeing. There's not a lot of clean lines. I'm looking like over your shoulder at the logo behind you. Right. And it almost looks as what I'm imagining when I look at that is is someone who has clearly gone down a hole of insanity and in a schizophrenic rage taken a piece of charcoal and just done a sketch of a bat, you know, and that's what I'm seeing here. As far as the costume itself, you know, the only way that I can even see that it's the Batman is because of his little bat ears and his little, you know, bat mouth. With I hope he has an ability to speak, because the Christian Bale, when his face was like that the whole time. But I'm getting more Punisher vibes from this costume. Am I totally off base in that? You know, he's got the look. I don't know. There's something more Punisher. Maybe it's even his Thomas Jane sort of gait. But the popped collar, I'm going to need to see this costume in action before I have more of a clear vision of how it's going to play out. I love the logo. I need to see a little bit more of the costume for me to really to get on board. Because like I said, I'm just getting some Punisher vibes, which shows me how dark they're going. And I love that angle. But I don't know.
Remember, the Batman himself went through a major metamorphosis, because there have been about 70 to 100 different iterations. But Batman himself went through his biggest metamorphosis in the 80s. I can't remember if it was the early, mid, late 80s or early 1990s, but I'm going to say mid 80s was when The Dark Knight, the famous graphic novel, came out that looked at an older Batman. It really changed the way, because in The Dark Knight Returns, it was this graphic novel that came out that fundamentally changed the way everybody looked at Batman. Suddenly he was this dark creature of the night.
And not Bam Pow.
And not Bam. I mean, they had changed since the Adam West days.
Sure.
They had evolved, but it was really that Dark Knight Returns graphic novel that kind of changed the way, and he kind of became that way. Now, sometimes we get iterations that are more reflective of that. Sometimes we don't, but it's going to be really interesting. See, we already have heard Matt Reeves say that they are going more, they're going to investigate more into the aspects of the detective dimension of Batman, because of course he's known as the Great Detective. They're going to go more into that. They're going to make it feel a little more grounded and gritty. Anyway, how much this logo tells us, who knows? Maybe this is very telling of what we can expect from the movie. Maybe it's just a flat piece of art, but whatever. I like it. Question is, guys, what do you think about this new official the Batman logo and this Jim Lee accompanying artwork that goes along with it? I know it makes no difference to how good or bad the movie is, but I just think it's really good artwork. What do you guys think about it? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down and out of the way, let's move into our main topics today. And how do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You see, you guys come up with them by going anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's absolutely and totally free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your topic or question featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's move into main topic number 1. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Edwin Tilson, who writes, "Hey, John, just wondering if you saw that Ewan McGregor, Tilda Swinton, and Kate Blanchett have joined the Guillermo del Toro Pinocchio movie. It's a killer cast, although I'm a little skeptical since it's going to be a Netflix movie, and the only one of those I ever really liked was Roma in 2018, and I'm actually one of the only guys in the world that didn't like Roma."
Really?
Yeah, I thought Roma was a snore fest, but almost everybody else I know loved it. So, and it's artistically beautiful, but I didn't like Roma. Anyway, still, it's a great lineup of talent in front of and behind the camera. What do you think? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, in case you guys didn't see the news, of course, we've known for a little while that Guillermo del Toro was working on this Pinocchio movie. Now, one of the main things to keep in mind, though, this is not a live-action movie. You got to remember that, because I'm seeing some people are confusing this. It's not a live-action movie. Anyway, here's the official announcement that came out. This comes to us from the folks at Variety, who write, Guillermo del Toro has cast Ewan McGregor, who apparently is going to be Jiminy Cricket, Tilda Swinton, Kate Blanchett, David Bradley, and I love David Bradley, by the way, and Finn Wolfhard, of course, from Stranger Things, in Pinocchio, his upcoming stop-motion animation. musical feature for Netflix. Newcomer Gregory Mann will star as Pinocchio, with McGregor as Cricket and Bradley as Geppetto. Of course, Bradley from the Harry Potter movies, and he was in
Game of Thrones
and The Strain. I thought he was great in The Strain. Anyway, other cast members include Christoph Waltz, two-time Academy Award winner, John Turturro, who's great, Ron Perlman, who is great, Tim Blake Nelson, who is also great, and Bern Gorman. So that's what's coming. So it's an animated basic kind of film, and that's fine. I'm going to be honest with you. For those of you who've watched me for any period of time, you know I don't get incredibly amped, even if it's my favorite stars. I don't get incredibly amped finding out certain celebrities are voicing certain characters. Like, unless it's Mike Myers returning as Shrek, or Tom Hanks coming back as the voice of Woody, I generally don't get excited about that. It's like, okay, we're going to hear their voices and I'm sure they're going to do good, but whatever. I love Ewan McGregor. And you know what? If it is musical, Ewan McGregor is in one of my all-time favorite movies with Moulin Rouge, in which he shocked the world and me about how well he can actually sing. So I'll look forward to hearing him sing a little bit. So this is good, but I am like you. I share your skepticism a little bit for a couple of reasons. Number one, while Netflix is one of the best in the world at creating original series, their original movies, their track record for me is spotty to be generous. Let's say spotty. Irishman was great. I really liked Old Guard. I'm struggling to find anything else I liked very much that they do as far as original movies go. So there's that. It's not live action. I would have been more interested in this if it was live action, but still, it's pretty original. Guillermo del Toro likes to do different stuff. And it is an incredible array of talent. So I will go so far to say here, Aaron, that I am interested in the film. I'm interested. I wouldn't say I'm excited about it at this point, though, but that could change very quickly once we see some sort of marketing. Anyway, Aaron, you heard this announcement. You see this lineup. What are your thoughts on this? So, first of all, the thing for me that's bringing me into this movie has nothing to do with the cast at all. I'm like you. If it's not going to be live action, there are so many incredibly talented voice actors who would be just as valuable to this project as Cate Blanchett or anyone else would be. For me, the thing that draws me into this is the imagination of Guillermo del Toro. And I'm blanking on his name right now. I looked it up this morning just to be sure so I could say it. But the Fantastic Mr. Fox co-creator is also working on this. And did you see Fantastic Mr. Fox? I did. Oh, yeah.
It's so good. And I loved it. It was so exciting the way that anyway, I loved that project. So to hear that these two incredibly talented and imaginative creators were coming together, that's all I need to be interested in this project. And I don't know if you're aware of what's going on with SAG-AFTRA right now, but just last week, the health plan pretty much kicked off a ton of people. And so there are literally thousands and thousands of performers who are not going to have health insurance next year. And it's a really big deal and people are losing their minds and freaking out, rightfully so. And so I'm going, yeah, like I get it. It's wonderful that you have this big star-studded cast, but there are that's not going to be the reason why people tune into this. No one's going to say, oh my goodness, Cate Blanchett's voice, I must see this project. I also think it's a little, well, it's weird to me that, especially given that it is not live action, that there's not a single person of color in the entire cast. When I look at people like Javier Bardem would have been such a beautiful addition. If you want to go star-studded, there are many people to choose from outside of the, very well established, already secure in their big mansions, all white cast that we have. That being said, I do love Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things. I think he's great. The one thing that I am happy about as regarding this being not live action and being stop motion is, Bradley. You just said Bradley. I just know him as. You're
talking about the guy from.
Yes, Walter Frey.
David Bradley?
Yeah, David Bradley. Walter Frey as Geppetto is the most terrifying thing I could possibly imagine. So when I realized that it was stop motion and not live action, I actually breathed a sigh of relief because it's going to be dark if it's Guillermo del Toro, but sweet baby Jesus, if it was Walter Frey live action as Geppetto, I don't think that I could ever sleep again if I saw that. So I'm very intrigued. I'm excited. But again, it's all about Guillermo del Toro for me. Like, I don't really need all the rest of the stars.
All right, guys, question for you then is, what do you think about this announcement? Do you like the cast line? I mean, it is incredible talent that they're lining up for this thing. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Do you like what you're seeing? Are you kind of like me? It's like, we'll see what it is when it comes around. I don't know. You're right, Guillermo del Toro is the attraction part to here because it's coming from his creative mind. What do you guys think about it? Jump down into the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down and out of the way, let's move on to main topic number 2. And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Aaron, which I'm guessing is a reference to one of my all-time favorite Key and Peele sketches. Aaron. Anyway, hello, John and Aaron. If she's there today, she is here today.
Yes, she is.
So despite the pandemic still being around, it looks like Hollywood is slowly coming back to life. Theaters are starting to reopen, and movie and TV shows are starting production again. I noticed that Variety is reporting that The Batman is starting up production again in September. With movies like Avatar 2, Jurassic World Dominion, and now Batman starting up production again, what do you think this signals, or do you think that this signals everything is getting back to normal? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And does this signal that everything is getting back to normal? No. Straight up, no. But again, it's like the way you described it in your letter. It's starting to come back to life. It's starting. Now we're going to be heading into an area that, and into a time period where it's going to be very, very important and key to see what happens during this reopening stage. And yes, they just announced that Batman is going back into production, which is a key step. This is from Variety, who writes, The Batman will resume shooting in early September, so in just a few weeks, in the UK at Warner Brothers Studio Levinson, according to insiders. The comic book adventure was roughly 7 weeks. That's a good chunk. Some entire movies only shoot for 7 weeks. Was roughly 7 weeks into production when filming had to be halted in March due to the coronavirus pandemic. The Batman, which is said to be a grittier and more realistic take on the Dark Knight mythos, has approximately 3 months of material left to shoot, which makes it a long principal photography shoot. It could potentially be wrapped by the end of 2020. So, yeah, they're getting back to it. They're starting to, like you said, other big major projects have already gone back into production, right? Things like Jurassic World Dominion is shooting again. Things like Avatar 2 is already shooting again. There's a lot of projects going on, a lot of strict safety procedures being put into place to make sure everybody stays safe. And it's going to be really interesting to see in the coming weeks if these safety procedures that they're putting in place for these sets are effective. We're seeing in the sports world, in the NBA right now, the NBA bubble, you know, where they brought all the athletes together, they stay in the same place, they stay in their hotels, everybody's tested every day, blah, blah. It's been a big success so far. It's been a big success so far. If these movie sets can replicate that success, then it could really more open the floodgates for more and more production. And we are seeing more and more production. And yes, the theaters are open again. As a matter of fact, Aaron, I just bought my tickets for New Mutants next Thursday.
Wow.
I am driving
to New Mexico.
I'm driving to Nevada. Close enough.
Oh my gosh, you are doing it. We talked about that last week.
I bought my tickets. Rob and I both got tickets. We're going to drive next Thursday to Las Vegas.
I love that I wasn't invited.
I texted you, asked you if you want a ticket. I never heard back from you.
100% I did not receive that text.
Really? Because we talked about it last week.
I know. That's why I'm like feeling a little FOMO. Yeah, I'm like,
I'll show you. Once I saw the tickets, I texted.
Okay, I don't know how I missed that because you know I'm always down for a road trip.
Right. So we're gonna go to Vegas. We're gonna go to this AMC theater in Vegas and then turn around and come right back home.
What?
But I got my tickets, so I'm gonna go see it. So yes, we're seeing theaters are open, but again, I don't think I'm ready to say that this is the harbinger. You know, Batman starting up shooting again, some theaters in some states reopening. I'm not ready to say here that this is the harbinger that everything is going back to normal. It's not. I think it brings us into a very important period of time to see what happens. Because listen, if what some people suspect will happen, if we see new surges and people going to theaters to cause new cases, and we see these movie sets have 15 people on set catch coronavirus, well, then that's going to kill it pretty quick. If, however, we can have the success like we've had with the NBA and UFC and other sports organizations, other than baseball, who has completely botched the way they've done this, if we see success, then it could lead to more, sets reopening, theaters reopening, things like that. But no, I'm not ready at this point to say that Batman reshooting is the harbinger of everything's now going back to normal. We are simply not. A nice sign? Yes. Does it give us something to hope for? Yes. Are we ready to say things are ready to go back to normal? Absolutely not at this point. Anyway, Aaron, particularly as an actress yourself, to now sit back and see certain productions slowly creeping back into production themselves, seeing some theaters reopening, some television shows have restarted
Resumed.
shooting and things like that. First of all, what's your reaction to seeing these things going back into production, and where do you think that puts us right now? Like, are we in a very hopeful spot? Are we in a still, we don't know, we got to wait and see? Are we in a more skeptical? Like, how do you see this whole thing?
Well, I think the first thing that we have to look at when we're talking about any production going back to filming is, where is it filming? We hear about projects that are filming in New Zealand and they're resuming. Well, obviously, the reports about the, COVID in New Zealand have been that for the most part, outside of the most recent outbreak, that, they've done a very good job about containing it. The UK, I haven't checked their stats lately, but that's where the Batman is being filmed right now. A lot of the Vancouver productions. I mean, I have friends that are up in Canada to shoot Lifetime movies or to shoot projects for the CW, and they are all. In fact, I was looking at the breakdowns last night for a project. I believe Batwoman. Yeah, so I was looking at a breakdown for a role in Batwoman. I am not what they're looking for. That's okay, but. It said that the shoot date would be September 28th, but that the actor should be prepared to fly on September 10th. And it said in time to quarantine wardrobe, hair, and makeup. So what's going on with a lot of these projects, specifically in Canada and that are shooting outside of the United States, is that they are flying the actors and essential crew people to the location 2 weeks early, literally either putting them in a house or putting them all in the same hotel where they don't leave at all. Like, they're not allowed to leave. They have to sign contracts saying that, they won't leave and all their food will be delivered and they'll only work out at the gym in the hotel or whatever. They're quarantining for several weeks and then they're starting production. And that's how those productions outside of the US are happening. Now, as far as productions in Los Angeles, New York, Georgia, all the places that we're used to filming, I'm in a TBD state. I was talking to Jason George yesterday, who is on the show Station 19, which is a spinoff of Grey's Anatomy. And he said that he's being told that they're shooting next week, that he's supposed to be getting tested every single day. That's where I go, I don't really know about that, because a lot of shows are saying, oh, we're coming back next week. This Is Us is supposedly coming back next week as far as going back into filming. That's going to be way more challenging because you can't quarantine people. You can't tell people, yeah, you're going to drive to work and then you can't see your spouse or your kids at home. You're going to drive to work and you can't go to the grocery store. You just can't do that. So I think it's really important that we look at where these projects are filming. Anything outside of the United States, they have a little bit more control of how their cast and crew behaves, because if anybody's flying in from the US, they can quarantine. Anything in LA, New York, Georgia, I'm just not so sure. Yeah, we'll just have to, it'll be interesting to see what happens next week.
Because even I was looking at, what I have to do as a Canadian to travel back to Canada to check in with my mom and dad. And I think it's a 15-day quarantine I have to go enter just for entering country. I
will say that it's apparently really nice. A girlfriend of mine is from Vancouver and she was calling me from her quarantine bunker. Yeah. And she was like, I want to, oh yeah. I was like, wow, Canada's quarantine, not so bad.
Canada's a pretty good place.
Yes, it is.
I'm a little biased, but it's a pretty good place. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think? Number one, it's great to hear that the Batman is going back into production, so we maybe can get this thing on time. But what do you think about this? Do you think it and a few other projects going to production means, hey, everything's going back to normal? Or are you a little bit more realistic and thinking, you know what? We're not there yet. Let's see how this all unfolds. Where are your thoughts on this right now? Jump into the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 3, shall we? And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Eric Huffman. And Eric Huffman writes, Happy No Pants Thursday, John and Aaron. Well, thank you so much, Eric. Deadline is reporting that Olivia Wilde has been hired to direct a Marvel movie for Sony, with some speculation that the film will be about Spider-Woman. I thought Booksmart was one of the top 5 movies of 2019, so this is beyond exciting to me. What are your thoughts on the hire, and what does this say about Sony's plans to continue milking their Marvel properties? All right, thanks a lot for sending this in, man. And listen, first things first, let's get to what this story is. So some of you may have been seeing these headlines. Olivia Wilde doing a Spider-Verse movie, many speculating it's going to be Spider-Woman. Where's all this coming from? Well, it comes to us from Deadline, actually. And this is what Deadline had to say about it. Deadline wrote, Sony Pictures is not only growing its slate of universe of Marvel characters, Spunk, remember that, characters, but it's building on the female characters at the center of it, and looks to have landed one of the sought-after female directors in Hollywood. Sources tell Deadline that Olivia Wilde has closed the deal, that's key, to direct and develop a secret Marvel film project revolving around a female character in the universe. While not confirmed, it is expected that the story will be centered on Spider-Woman. Now, of course, Spider-Woman has had several iterations in the comics. Mary Jane Watson has been Spider-Woman. Gwen Stacy has been Spider-Woman. There was another girl whose name I forget, who I think was like the original Spider-Woman. Maybe they go this way, maybe they go that way. Maybe they do another character altogether. Listen, I'm not going to lie. I went into watching Booksmart thinking that it kind of looked on the surface to be a poor man's Superbad. What Booksmart actually ended up being was, I don't know, the rich man Superbad, a much more intelligent version of Superbad. And I like Superbad. You heard me talking about Superbad the other day. I really like it. Booksmart was a better version of Superbad, which I didn't even realize this when I saw the movie, but one of the lead girls was actually Jonah Hill's sister. I had no idea.
Which is so crazy.
I had no idea about that at the time.
It's like a mirror universe.
It was weird. And you know what it was? It was, the performances were great, but it was all direction. It was all direction. The charm and the heart and the timing of everything, it was beautifully done. Every creative decision was used to maximum effect, and it was Olivia Wilde's feature film directorial debut. She had directed a few other things, but this was her feature film directorial, and I could not have been more blown away. I couldn't have been more blown away. Now, she's got this other movie coming out called Don't Worry, Darling, which is more of a thriller set in the 50s, but she's got people like Chris Pine, Shia LaBeouf, herself, Florence Pugh, Dakota Johnson. So, I mean, she's got other people lined up to be in that as well. So that's exciting. But now, and maybe even more importantly, we've got her doing this. And the speculation is Spider-Woman. Okay, if Deadline is saying they expect it to be Spider-Woman, let's keep in mind it could be somebody else. It could be another character altogether. Fine. But I think we can go on the assumption, at least for now, until we hear otherwise or corrected otherwise. Let's go on the assumption that it's Spider-Woman. It makes sense. Sony is really trying to expand this universe. They massively. We've already had Venom. We've got Morbius that should have been out in theaters already, but Morbius is coming. You know, we're hearing rumors about Kraven as well. But on top of that, they're also exploring the other gender leads, right? We've already got, now we know that Spider-Woman is coming from Olivia Wilde. We got Madam Web, which I still think is a really odd choice to do as a movie, but let's see what they're iterating. I also thought Guardians of the Galaxy was an odd choice to do as a movie, and look how that turned out. But from S.J. Clarkson is doing that, and according to the report in Deadline, while a lot of us, including me, kind of thought Silver and Black had been thrown away, apparently Silver and Black is still in the cards for them at this point. They are still looking at doing a Silver and Black movie on top of all the other properties they're doing. Sony is going all in on this Spider-Man-less Spider-Verse, and I'll tell you what, I couldn't be happier about it. I personally could not be happier about it. I really like what we're seeing here. So anyway, that's just me. At any rate, Aaron, you've had a chance to hear about this. I know, you have your thoughts. So what do you think about this idea of Olivia Wilde and kind of I thought she was going to go all indie films for a while, but she's making that jump into a big tentpole project. What do you think about this?
Well, I want to just correct Deadline on one little thing. When they say that she's, one of the most sought after female directors, I think that let's switch that up a bit. She is, period, right now one of the most sought after directors, period, in Hollywood. Everybody's talking about her. Everybody wants to work with her. And so she really solidified herself, like you said, in Booksmart with a little indie that she had total creative control over. The claymation scene, if you have not seen Booksmart, you got to watch it for the claymation scene alone. It is one of my favorite parts of the movie. But now she's saying, hey, not only can I have creative control and tell this really interesting independent film, but also I'm going to show you that I can be given a massive budget and a franchise and I can work within that world. She's diversifying, as one does with a stock portfolio. She is diversifying her director portfolio, which is a brilliant move on her part, especially this early in her directing career. And as far as, the idea of her directing Spider-Woman, I don't think that she left any room for doubt when she retweeted the Deadline article and just put a little spider emoji. They were like saying it's going to be revolving around a female character. And I also, I had a conversation. Somebody tweeted at me this morning saying, because the last time we talked about how it was like, a female-centric movie, and I said that I hated that term female-centric. I am a feminist and I find it very patronizing when the term female-centric is used. But what I corrected is this: they didn't use the term female-centric. When they say revolves around a female character, I look at that more like we're dangling a carrot. We're letting you know, we're giving you just a little hint. We're not virtue signaling. We're just we're carrot dangling, and we're giving you a little hint, and then all of a sudden everybody goes nuts and they're like, oh my God, who are some of the female characters that we haven't explored that might be really exciting? Now, with the spider, yes, it could be Madam Web. Personally, I would really love to see what someone, little throwback to our earlier conversation, like Guillermo del Toro would do with a Madam Web. You said they have a director attached to Madam Web?
Yes, Sashay Clarkson, yeah.
Okay, I'm sure that she'll be great as well. But like Madam Web is really dark and gritty. I find, especially with Olivia Wilde and her cheeky sense of humor, I feel like Spider-Woman could almost have some of the dark humor that Deadpool does. I know that it's totally crossing over and it's not the same world and everything, but I feel like especially Spider-Woman has this really cool look about her, but I feel like infusing her with a dark, witty sense of just a dark wit would be so fun as well. I will not see it in theaters until I have at minimum 5 people guarantee that I won't have to see any actual SPIDERs in it. I'm really looking forward to this, and I just can't wait to see how it develops. And good on Olivia Wilde. Good for her.
And I'll tell you what, Olivia Wilde, I first met Olivia Wilde at the premiere in San Diego of Cowboys and Aliens.
Oh, yeah.
Which was awful.
That's what I heard.
And so that was cool and everything. But then, do you remember that Steve Carell, Steve Buscemi movie, The Fabulous or Wonderful Burt Wonderstone, where he was a Las Vegas magician?
He was a magician. Yeah.
Las Vegas. Anyway,
I didn't see it.
Olivia Wilde was one of the other key stars in there. Okay. And they actually brought a bunch of journalists out to Las Vegas, where they held the press junket at a hotel in Vegas, which was appropriate. But one of the interesting things about that kind of press event was it was like 2 days, and you actually just got to hang out with everybody. I actually got to hang out in Steve Carell's hotel room with him, just sit down and chat with him and whatever. And I got to have drinks with Olivia Wilde.
Really? She just seems like a great person.
I'm going to tell you what. I did not know what to expect because Olivia Wilde, I mean, look, I don't care what preferences and tastes are, male or female, she is one of the most stunning creatures to walk the face of the earth, male or female.
Yeah.
Like there's something disarming about just how attractive she is. Mm-hmm. And I'd seen her in Tron as well and whatever. So you're just thinking, oh my God, and she's going to be this, whatever. And I wasn't prepared for how kind of tomboyish and goofy and whatever it is. And then after I had a chance to talk to her for like 20 minutes, I realized she's with Jason Sudeikis. What was I thinking she was going to be like?
Right. I mean, she's going to be fun. If there's ever a couple you want to have a double date with, I feel like it's Olivia Wilde and Jason Sudeikis. That's a great date. And I totally should have figured that. But you'd be surprised just how truly geeky and kind of like just like casual and kind of goofy. I walked away from that like such a big fan. But again, I never would have thought, as I normally don't, of just actors like, oh, this actor will make a great director. But man, what she has done so far, I'm really looking forward to seeing Don't Worry, Darling. If anything is going to be like what she did with Booksmart, I think we're in for something. It's going to be really, really interesting to see. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? First of all, there's a couple of pieces of information all wrapped up in this one story. Sony's got another movie coming that's probably going to be Spider-Woman. It's being directed by Olivia Wilde. How are you guys feeling about this? I'm very excited about it. Jump down into the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down and out of the way, let's now move on to our fourth and final main topic today, shall we? And our fourth and final main topic today gets submitted to us by Richard Fleming, who writes, "Hey, John. So DC fandom has split into two separate days that are 3 weeks apart, which is idiotic. It is rather strange, I'll admit that. But I'm still looking forward to it. I wanted to know what you think the main announcements / trailers are going to be that we're going to get on the 22nd. Also, did you see the special to be announced panel is now gone? Anyway, what do you think?" All right, thanks for sending that in, man. And of course, one of the bigger things coming up on the fan sphere calendar is, of course, DC Fandom. That is happening on Saturday. It's just a few days away now. Now, while it honestly doesn't look like much of a fan event to me, it does look like it's going to be spectacular in terms of announcements and footage that they're going to show. What is interesting here is that if you guys remember, a couple of days ago, Robert Meyer Burnett and I were on here, and we were, being really critical of the fact that you look at a lot of these panels that they're doing, like Wonder Woman 84, which Wonder Woman 84 is fine. That one's like a 25-minute panel. That's like the longest one. But like Aquaman, the Aquaman panel, the panel for Aquaman is 10 minutes. Yeah.
10 minutes. That's not a fan event. That's just a press release. That's just a glorified press conference. You're dressing it up and pretending it's a fan event, but it's just a glorified press conference. Well, couple of things have changed. Number one, that one to be announced panel is gone. I don't really think that affects anything. I honestly don't. I think whatever they were going to announce in that to be announced panel, I think they'll just announce it as a part of another panel. I really do. So I don't really think that affects anything, to be honest with you. The other thing that sort of changed, though, is they've split it into 2 days and they've moved one to 3 weeks later. Why 3 weeks? I have no, that is kind of stupid. Why it's not just the next day? It's all pre-recorded nonsense anyway. 3 weeks away, but whatever, they are. But here's what's interesting. What's really interesting is, and I don't know if this is new, or I don't know if this was there before and none of us noticed it. But you'll notice that on Saturday, September the 12th, we have things like a Q&A with the cast of Suicide Squad. It's not going to be part of the Suicide Squad panel. That's coming up in a couple of days. But in 3 weeks, they're doing a Q&A Suicide Squad panel. They're doing a fan Q&A with the cast and crew of the movie of The Flash. They're doing a fan Q&A with the cast and crew of Shazam. So while they're doing these panels in a few days that are only really short, now they're also doing these things. Now, these may have been there before, but me and a few other people were talking about how I had no idea this was there, and nobody had mentioned this to me. So I don't know if this is new or if this is just there already. To me, this is great. This is great news. Because what this does, look, fan Q&A with the cast and crew of the WB series, a fan Q&A of the cast and crew of Wonder Woman 84. This is fabulous because what this does here is this addresses what my critiques were about the panel. It's like, come on, you're calling it a fan event? Let the fans interact. You're calling it a fan event. Have them take questions from the audience, blah, blah, blah. And otherwise, it's just a press event. But if they're going to have this, honestly, that makes me happy. That to me, that solves everything. This now to me, this makes it a true fan event. Before it wasn't. Now it is. This is now a fan event. I think it's wonderful that they're doing this. Why they don't just all wrap it up into one thing, I don't know. You had them all there anyway, but they've split it into two things. That's fine too. It addresses it. One thing, let me say this. One thing that I find kind of funny, I don't know if you've noticed this, Aaron, but fans, sports, movies, TV, Harry Potter, DC, Star Wars, fans can be very apologetic about the thing that is the source of their fandom. Like, they will defend, no matter how ridiculous, how stupid, how dumb something that the object of their fandom does, they'll find a way to defend it. We all do it. All fans do it. I particularly find, I gotta say, that Marvel and DC fans in particular do this. And you know I am both a Marvel and a DC fan, but I find Marvel and DC fans are very quick to be apologists for this. Let me just give you this example. I'm a part of a couple of online discussion groups, right? I'm sure many of us are. And I remember I was in this online discussion group with some people that I chat with. After Rob and I did that show, really criticizing DC fandom for the fact that 10-minute panels, that's not a fan event, right? And we were complaining about it. And I had these people saying to me, oh, come on, John. It's perfect. 10 minutes is perfect. We want all killer, no filler. 10 minutes is perfect. That's the perfect. I just want to hear the announcements and the things. And like my argument was, well, yeah, but then it's not a fan event. It's just a press release. Blah. But I had these friends of mine who were in these chat forums saying, John, it's perfect. 10 minutes is perfect. This is exactly what it should be. Then last night, as we were in there talking about these things being there, because they didn't notice that this was there before either. So again, I'm right now, I don't know if this is new or if it was there before and they just didn't notice it. But these people I was talking with, they didn't notice it before either. These same people who just a couple of days earlier were telling me, oh, no, 10 minutes is perfect. This is exact. I don't want it to be longer than that. 10 minutes is perfect. When we noticed this, they were like, isn't this amazing? We get the longer Q&A with the fans. And like,
more filler.
Wait a minute, time out. 2 days ago, you were telling me you didn't want it to be longer, that it was perfect. Oh, but now that they're doing this stuff, now that they're doing the Q&A, now they're doing the Q&A is perfect. Anyway, I swear to God, Marvel and DC fans would find a way, because I find both equally do this. And I'm a part of both, but I find both equally do this. Marvel and DC fans, if Kevin Feige or Zack Snyder, for that matter, walked up and spunked in their mother's face, they would come up with a way of saying, John. Oh, but it's going to be good for her skin. Yeah, it's great. It's going to be wonderful. Think about the nutrients and the moisturizer. It's going to be wonderful. Oh, seriously, no. That's what they would do. That's what they would do. If Kevin Feige, or doesn't matter what Kevin Feige does, doesn't matter what anybody at DC does, if they could do the stupidest, dumbest thing, and the Marvel people and the DC people will come up with a way to defend it and say, no, it's perfectly good. It's perfectly fine. Anyway. You
don't think that there was an uproar with the Ezra Miller situation? I mean, there were some apologists and people were...
I found so many apologists for that. It was crazy. I found so many, it's like way more apologists than I expect. Now, again, like the Ezra Miller situation, to me, it's a little more complex. Because,
no, I agree. And we don't have to belabor it because I know that you've talked about it a million times.
Yeah, but just, again, to me, it's all in connection with the Hartley Sawyer situation. Of course, who is the actor on The Flash who played Elongated Man, who, when they rediscovered a bunch of tweets he put out 6, 7, 8 years ago, they instantly publicly fired him. Which, hey, I was fine if they didn't fire him. I was fine if they did. What I was not fine with was the hypocrisy and the inconsistency that they then have Ezra Miller on video laying hands on a woman, grabbing a woman by the throat, and they don't even address it. They didn't even address it. They didn't even mention it. But another guy, they caught him with tweets from 7 years ago, and they instantly publicly fired him. And I thought, look, I'm good if you don't want to fire either of them and you want to address it a certain way. I'm good if you want to fire both of them. What I had a real problem with was the inconsistency of how they handled one thing versus how they handled another.
Well, it's also two completely separate entities. You know, one is a Greg Berlanti show that's on CW.
But both have the same corporate bosses. They both, and when you get into a situation that's a high profile, publicly visible thing, you know that has to go up the chain.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the people at the very top of the chain are the ones who make the final decision.
I believe it was.
But I will say this. The Hartley Sawyer situation, I paid very close attention, not necessarily to what
you appeared on The Flash,
right? Mm-hmm. Yep. What I noticed that I thought was very telling was that there was not a single person in the cast who said, this is not the Hartley Sawyer I know. I've never heard him speak like this. This is shocking. I can't believe it. Oh my goodness. All of them were like, wow, I was really disgusted when I saw this. And like, nobody came to his defense. And I think that that is telling, you know, whereas with Ezra Miller, there were a lot of people that were like, no, that know him, that have worked with him, that were like, wait a minute, this is weird. This is not characteristic of the person that I know. Hartley Sawyer did not have anyone in his cast, not a single person that has worked with him for years, 22 episodes a year, say, this is not characteristic of the person that I know. And that is very telling.
The reason I don't put any weight to that is because I think Warner Brothers saw what happened at Disney when they let James Gunn go. Because when they let James Gunn go, everything went to hell over there. And again, that was a good example that Kevin Feige didn't get to make the decision to let James Gunn go. It went up the chain and Alan Horn himself made the decision to let James Gunn go. And I thought they saw all these people come out and it created a real problem for Disney. And I honestly think Warner Brothers made everybody toe the line.
But CW is also a network that has been very, very clear that that part of who they are, part of their brand is incredible diversity, not just with different races, but different sexual orientations and, preferences and even within the cast of The Flash itself. And so, I see this as being something that CW definitely was like, this is not consistent with our brand values.
And I have no issue with that. I really don't. I just think I believe just like a Disney case where it went up to Alan Horn, I think this went up above CW, went above Berlanti, went above...
I am shocked that the whole Ezra Miller thing has just been like, what?
Quietly slept under
It's literally like it's just not been addressed.
But I took us down this rabbit trail.
I know,
let me take us
back to DC fandom, which is very exciting.
Which, by the way, again, let me restate. I think this stuff is all fantastic because I think this stuff here addresses every single concern I was voicing the other day. All the problems I had with the way they were handling that, this is an answer to all of that. And I think this is fantastic. And I'm very excited. Now, for honestly, even though I think it's dumb that they're doing it 3 weeks later, I am personally obviously very excited, number one, to hear what the announcements and the trailers are. But I am also very excited. I love these Q&A things. I eat these things up. So I'm very excited to see what they're going to be doing here with these Q&A things. Now, as far as what are they going to announce? What are they going to announce? Let's talk about that for a moment. About what are going to be the things that they do announce and what are going to be the pieces of footage that they do show. Okay? I want us to look at a couple of possibilities, and then I want us to break them into one of 5 categories. Not going to happen, unlikely, maybe, likely, absolutely. Okay, so those are going to be, we're going to take every one of these things and break them down into those little categories here. So, okay, so let's bring up the classroom here, shall we? Come on, let's bring up the classroom.
Oh, wow, PowerPoint, I love it.
So let's look at a couple of things here first. Let's start with a few. Let's start with these ones. Justice League trailer, of course, this is the Snyder Cut trailer. Henry Cavill's return as Superman being announced, or a Black Adam antagonist being announced. Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League trailer, that's an absolute. I mean, they've already announced that that's going to be coming. They've already announced that that's going to be happening. So with the Justice League trailer, we'll call that one A for absolute. Absolute. Henry Cavill's return as Superman. I'm going to call that likely. I'm going to give that a likely. I still believe, even though they're no longer doing the to be announced panel, I still believe Henry Cavill's return to Superman is going to be announced. Look, we already know because of the major trades that DC and Henry Cavill were in negotiations for his return to Superman. I think they will make it official. But again, I'm not going to call it absolutely. I'm going to call it likely. Black Adam antagonist. I'm also going to list that one as likely. You know, we are getting a Black Adam panel. I believe we're going to hear what is going on with Black Adam, because obviously Black Adam's a villain. Remember, he's going to be an anti-hero in this thing. So we're going to have an antagonist for Black Adam. And so I think that one is likely. All right, let's move on to the next three things and break these ones down. The Flash movie will be announced with a title and the basic concept of the movie, a new Wonder Woman 84 trailer, and Wonder Woman 3 being announced. All right, as far as the Flash thing, I'm going to say absolutely. They're doing a panel for the new Flash movie. At minimum, you got to give us a title and the basic idea about what the movie is. Not some in-depth synopsis or anything, but I think they're at least going to give us the basic idea, whether they're going to call it Flashpoint or whatever. I think it is an absolute that we're going to get the title, and I think it's an absolute we're going to get the basic idea. Beyond that, I'm not quite sure. Wonder Woman 84 trailer, a new one. You know what? I was going to say likely before, but I just heard that there is actually a new Wonder Woman 84 trailer that they're going to be putting in theaters. And so I have absolutely no doubt that the first place, you can't have DC fandom and not debut this trailer there. So I'm going to go so far as to say, and I can't wait to see what Patty Jenkins is going to do with that one. I'm going to give that one an absolute. As far as Wonder Woman 3 being announced, I'm going to call that likely. And the reason I'll call it likely is because we already heard Patty Jenkins say publicly that she plans on doing another Wonder Woman movie after this one. One more and one more only. Like she said 3 and then I'm done. But she's already said publicly she's going to do that. So I think the announcement of Wonder Woman 3, I'm going to call likely.
So can you, I'm sorry, what is the difference between Patty Jenkins saying I'm going to do a third Wonder Woman and the announcement of a third Wonder Woman? What's the difference between those two things?
I think one goes from concept to actually the studio comes up and says, yep, we're going to do it. Okay. I think so. So I think that is likely because we've heard lots of directors before say, I'm going to do this. And then it never actually happens. So I think they're actually going to announce. Remember, Wonder Woman 84 was already supposed to be in theaters. So I think they're ready to probably announce another one. All right, next 3, just got a couple more to go here. Next 3, first Batman teaser footage. CW Flash announces that the next season is going to be the final season. And Aquaman 2 gets a title and basic synopsis announced. All right, as far as the first Batman footage goes, I'm going to give that one an absolute. They're definitely, look, they showed the first teaser trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy at Comic-Con when they had only been shooting Guardians of the Galaxy for 1 week. This Batman movie has had 7 weeks of shooting and months of time to prep some kind of sizzle reel. So, and not to mention the Batman panel at DC Fandom is the longest panel they have. It's 30 minutes long. I think you got to say it's an absolute that we're going to get Batman teaser, either a teaser or footage or whatever. CW Flash, I've heard it being floated that this next season of Flash is going to be the final season. The lead actor for Flash, Grant Gustin, he's entering the final year of his contract. We already saw the Arrow come to an end. They've got other ideas for shows, so there's that. I'm going to give this one a U. I'm going to say it is unlikely. I'm not going to say it's impossible because you're right. Grant Gustin is in the final year of his contract. Yes, we just saw Arrow finish its run as well. Maybe it's time to put this movie. It hasn't been as good as it has been in years past, although I really did like this last season. But I think it is unlikely. Not no chance, but unlikely that they're going to say that this next season of Flash is the final season. Aquaman getting a title? I don't know. James Wan's busy right now. So I'm not going to say absolute. I think they may talk more at the Aquaman panel just about the original Aquaman movie, but I still think there's a chance. So I'm going to call it likely that Aquaman 2 gets an official title and we hear some, not an absolute, but I'm still going to say it's likely. All right, final 2 things here. for us to look at. And I'm sure there are going to be others that you guys can bring up in the chat. Our first look at Suicide Squad. I'm going to go so far as to say absolute. Either it's footage or a teaser. James Gunn has wrapped principal photography on this thing. Again, when he shot the first Guardians of the Galaxy, they had a teaser to show at Comic-Con after 1 week of shooting. They finished principal photography. I don't see any reason why they don't show us a full, again, either a teaser or a big scene or something. I do think it's absolute. We're going to get our first look at Suicide Squad. And first Batman footage. Well, didn't I just already do that? Yeah, I don't know why I put that in there again. So we'll take that one out. First Batman footage, already established. So here's what I think. Justice League trailer, we all know that that's absolute. Henry Cavill return to Superman, I think that's likely. Black Adam antagonist, likely. Flash movie title, absolutely, I'm saying. New Wonder Woman 84 trailer, we already know that that's done, so that's an actual fact. We can check that one off. Wonder Woman 3 gets announced. Not absolute, but I think it's likely. First Batman teaser footage, absolutely. Flash final season announcement, I think that is unlikely. Aquaman 2 title gets its title in the basic synopsis. I think, again, not absolute, but I think it's likely. And our first look at Suicide Squad, I got to go absolute. So let me pass this over to you. Let's see what you have to say about this, Aaron.
Okay.
Let's run you through this list. So give us a, never going to happen, unlikely, maybe, likely, absolute.
Oh, geez.
So we'll start with the Justice League trailer. I mean, that's already forward conclusion, right? So that's there. I haven't had a chance to talk to you about Henry Cavill's return to Superman. That they announced Henry Cavill is coming back as Superman, and he's going to be either in The Flash or Black Adam, or he's got a new standalone Superman movie or whatever, but they're announcing his return.
You know what? Can you see the joy on my face? Because I cannot wait to go home. And because Tom, my husband.
I'm not going to ask why you can't wait to go home thinking about Henry Cavill. I'll leave that to you. So whatever.
He's already said he's never going to put the Superman cape on again. He's never going to put the costume on again. He's not going to do it. There's not going to be another Avengers. He just gave me the it was nonstop about how, and so, and Tom and
to be fair, they did make it look like he wasn't coming back before. They really did. So,
but I was like, obviously, I said, he's going to put on the cape again. It's going to happen in some way. No, he's not. He's not. So there's I'm going to have a little bit of joy whenever I get to go home and be like, see.
But where do you rank it? Do you think it's absolute? Do you think it's likely? Maybe?
Yeah, I think it's very likely. I think it's very likely.
On that. All right. Let's go to The Rock now for a second. Black Adam. That they're going to announce who the antagonist in the upcoming Black Adam movie, of course, they said was happening 5 years ago is when they first announced The Rock. 5 years ago is when they first told us The Rock was going to be Black Adam. What do you think the chances are that they are going to tell us who his foil is going to be in that movie? What
is below most very likely? I think maybe. They're going to give us something. I don't necessarily know if it's going to be the antagonist. Maybe it's a first look. Maybe it's a little, some sort of, not a teaser, obviously, because they haven't shot anything. But I feel like, I don't know if it's going to be the antagonist, but I feel like they're going to obviously tease us with something.
All right, then let's look at The Flash. We get a title and a synopsis for the upcoming Flash movie, which they have not started shooting yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to go likely or absolute?
Absolute.
You're going to go absolute on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonder Woman 84 trailer. Well, they've already, we know that's coming, so we can go by that. That they officially announced that Wonder Woman 3 is officially happening. What would you say to that one?
So I don't think it'll happen the first weekend because I think they're going to want to have that exclusively for Wonder Woman 84 trailer. But then I think that they'll, as the Wonder Woman 84 trailer starts rolling out in theaters, then they're going to announce it on the September 12th.
Okay, so you're saying you don't think they're going to announce it on this Saturday?
I think they're going to, I would want to have this Saturday exclusively for Wonder Woman 84, keep all the focus on that, not try to dilute the enthusiasm over 84 trailer, and then have something following it up so that you would just keep we keep Wonder Woman in the conversation at not only this first one this Saturday, but also the follow-up on the 12th. That would be when I would announce it.
All right. First Batman footage or teaser trailer gets released.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I just can't see them, especially with it being the longest panel at 30 minutes. I can't see that. All right. Them announcing that the upcoming Flash season, which of course is a show you've appeared on, will be the final season.
I don't know.
So you're going to say maybe on that?
You know what? I hate to say it like this because it sounds really pessimistic. And I'm sorry, I keep clearing my throat. I have something. But I am seeing a lot of actors, and Grant Gustin may be so done with this costume, but I've seen a lot of actors who have said, I'm done with this show after this season, that all of a sudden, because of a lot of the uncertainty that's going on, saying, you know what, they threw me a whole bunch of money and I decided to sign on for another year or another 2 years. I'm not 100% that the show is going to end this season. I could be wrong, but I would not be surprised if we saw one more season or 2 more seasons.
Okay. Aquaman 2 gets, of course, which have not started shooting, James Wan. Aquaman 2 gets a title and a synopsis.
Nah, I don't think so.
Really going to go? So you think they're just going to focus more on the original Aquaman and talk about that?
I mean, sorry. I don't know enough about Aquaman 2 or what's going on with Aquaman at all to even have a perspective on that.
All right. First look at, we get our first footage of James Gunn's Suicide Squad.
I think so. Yeah.
All right. So that's where we're at. So guys, just to highlight, at least I didn't write, I should have written down your things, but just to highlight my thing, I'm saying Justice League trailers an absolute. Henry Cavill's return is likely. Black Adam antagonist, likely. Flash movie getting a title and a synopsis, absolute. New Wonder Woman 84 trailer, absolute. Wonder Woman 3 announcement, likely. First Batman footage, absolute. CW Flash being announced as its final season coming, I think is unlikely. Aquaman 2 gets a title and basic idea, I'll go likely. And first look at Suicide Squad, I will say, is an absolute. The question is for you guys, what do you think about that? And I was so wanting to know what you guys thought about this. We even made this the topic of today's question of the day. So just before the show started here, I put up a poll on the community tab of the YouTube channel. And by the way, if you're not signed up already, make sure you click that subscribe button, become a subscriber to the YouTube channel, and be kept up to date and get notified even when we put up new posts in the community tab. And just before the show started, I asked you guys this question. Question of the day. Which of the following long shot announcements do you think will actually be announced at Fandome? So unlikely, but long shots. I asked you, and I gave you guys 5 options. Black Adam, a villain, is announced. CW Flash is entering its final season. Michael Keaton's standalone Batman movie is announced. Ben Affleck's return is announced. And Justice League 2 is announced. Now, these are all long shots, but I want to know what you guys think. Right now, about 4,300 of you guys have voted already. 32% of you are saying, out of all these possibilities, Black Adam announcing a villain is the most likely. That's 32% of you guys. I am shocked to see that the second highest votes came for Ben Affleck returning. I think that is a pipe dream.
Yeah,
I mean,
never going to happen.
You want to see me stand in the middle of a public square and piss myself? Tell me Ben Affleck's coming back as Batman. I will lose all control of my bodily fluids. But I just don't see that happening. God, it would be awesome if it did. But still, almost a little more than 1 out of every 5 you think it is. Next, in third place, CW's Flash is entering its final season. In fourth place, 15% of you guys are thinking that Justice League 2 is indeed coming. And coming in last, 14% of you are thinking they may announce a Michael Keaton standalone Batman movie. I will, of course, leave that poll up there on our community tab. Go on in there and cast your vote, guys. And just give your thoughts at all on what's going on here with DC Fandome. It's only a couple of days away. Jump down into the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Yes.
Can you tell the people out there, just in case they are not familiar with DC Fandome, how they can participate in DC Fandome or how they can watch it?
Oh, that's a very good thing to bring up. Okay, so for those of you who may not know, you might just be hearing about this a lot. Just go to dcfandom.com. There you go. And actually, I've got the schedule up here, which is at schedule.dcfandom.com. But it's simply dcfandom.com. Once you get there, you'll be able to see when you can tune in and watch it. It's going to be all streamed for free. It's all free, this big event. So again, that's dcfandom.com. Go there, set your reminders, put it in your calendar, and that's how you're going to be able to go and see that. Thank you for reminding me of that, Aaron.
You're very welcome.
All right, guys. with all that down and out of the way, let's now go over and start taking your live questions. I'm also going to turn on the air because it's getting hot in here. We're going to go over and start taking your live questions you guys have been sending in. Once again, if you want to get a question on the live part of the show, simply use the tip link in the top of the description of this video, or simply go to it manually at streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question on the show if it's within reason, and you'll be supporting the show at the same time. All right, guys, with that down, let's start getting into your live questions. And the first one we're going to start off with here is from Man of Steel Rules, who writes, John, I just dug my bowling ball out of the closet so that I'm meeting the regulations when I head down to the local theater to watch Tenet. And of course, what Man of Steel is referring to is the other day we talked on the show about how New York is saying it's New York saying that bowling alleys are safer and more essential than movie theaters. Of course, my whole take on it was, look, if you want to say bowling alleys and theaters should be closed, I respect that. If you want to say they should both be open, I respect that. What I thought is ridiculous is to suggest that a bowling alley is either A, more essential than a movie theater, or B, less risk than a movie theater. I think it's completely the opposite, but hey, that's just me. All right, next up, the Not So Great Gatsby, I like that name, writes, this week, 10 years ago, we were blessed with Nanny McPhee Returns, which isn't as bad as some people make it out to be. Nanny McPhee Returns, Lottery Ticket, Piranha 3D, which was as bad as everybody thought it was, The Switch, not so bad, and Vampire Suck. And 20 years ago, we had The Cell, Godzilla 2000, with Hank Azaria, I think was in that one, and the original Kings of Comedy, which is great. How blessed were we? And you guys have a blessed day. Yeah, it's always funny when we look back at these 10 and 20 year anniversaries, because inevitably something makes me feel old. This is one of those situations where every single movie listed is, yep, that one feels like it was 10 years ago, and yep, that one feels like it was 20 years ago. Especially the Godzilla one, man. That was a movie, Godzilla babies and everything. Godzilla 2000 was a movie that had a lot of promise. It actually had a pretty good cast. Did not quite work out. Of course, Kings of Comedy, I really like that one.
Man, The Cell, with Jennifer Lopez. That had some crazy costumes in it. The costume design, I want to say it was actually nominated for an Academy Award for costume design.
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Oh, it was incredible.
No, you know what? I'm going to go so far as to say it was. Let me just pull it up here because I want to know this for sure. But I'm going to say absolutely it was nominated for costume design, some kind of visuals, whatever.
Yeah, really cool visual effects.
For one Academy Award, Best Makeup. It was nominated for Best Makeup.
Really?
Not costume design, though, but it was nominated for
20 years later, I didn't even see the movie, but 20 years later, the thing that I know about The Cell is that it had incredible costume design. So whoever designed the costumes, you got robbed.
It was a visually impressive movie.
Yes, it was.
It was a very visually impressive movie. All right, next up, Ready Teddy Seti writes, hey, John, I believe we'll be getting a Green Lantern announcement on Saturday. Why do you treat the Green Lantern show / movie as an either-or scenario? I've heard rumors that it's a movie and a show, the movie about Hal and John, and the show Simon and Jessica, and they are both connected. I have not heard that myself, so I don't know where you're getting that information from. So what we do know, here's the thing about Green Lantern. They announced a while ago that they were going to develop a Green Lantern show for HBO Max. The thing is, unlike other things that got announced, we've heard development and movement on other things. I haven't heard anything of any movement about a Green Lantern project. That doesn't mean it's not happening. It's just saying I haven't heard about anything happening on it yet. There could be tons of stuff going on behind the scenes. Then the question is, could it be a movie? Maybe they've changed focus and made it a movie. Maybe they're making a show. Here's the thing. I don't think we're going to get a movie and a show, although that is possible. Totally is. I'm not going to pretend it's not. It is possible. I don't think that's what they're going to do. It seems like they'd be getting ahead of themselves. They don't even know if they can make Green Lantern work at all. They've tried Green Lantern once with Ryan Reynolds, which is, by the way, not as bad as I think some people make it out to be. It's bad. Don't get me wrong. It's bad. But it's not as bad, I think, as some people make it out to be. But they've had one experience with Green Lantern. Didn't work. I don't think they're going to rush out to do a movie and TV thing at the same time before they proof it out. That seems to me like something old DC would have done, not the new, more mature, more grounded DC. I think they'll do one or the other. But again, anything's possible, Ready Teddy. Let's see what happens. All right, next up, Scott Brown writes, I would like to recommend Voltron Legendary Defenders. I've seen the first couple of seasons on Netflix. It's done by the same studio that did Avatar: The Last Airbender, and it is absolutely brilliant. It has some awesome action and great characters, and is a vast improvement over the original. I don't know about that. Now, granted, you got to take that with a grain of salt that my first exposure to Voltron was the original animated thing, right? So that holds a very special place to me. Voltron on Netflix is actually really quite good. Now, I didn't see it past season 2 for no reason. There's no reason I didn't see it past season 2. I enjoyed what I saw. But I still kind of prefer the original Voltron. So that's just me. But you're right. That Voltron one is actually a quite good show, even if you weren't into the original stuff. All right, Willow writes, will you feel particularly disappointed now if the DC fandom surprise panel does not turn out to be Henry Cavill coming back as Superman? I feel like Hawkeye right now. Don't give me hope. So here's the thing. I don't think that Henry Cavill is coming back as Superman. All right? Henry Cavill is coming back as Superman. That's already kind of been established. You know, we got the trades all reporting that Warner Brothers and Henry had already entered into talks, which means they want him and means he wants to do it. Now they're trying to work out the details. That he will be putting on the cape again. So if they don't announce this officially at DC Fandom, which I think they will, I'm not going to be terribly disappointed, because even if they don't announce it doesn't change the fact that I believe it is happening. At this point, to me, I think it's a foregone conclusion. The only question is, do they announce it at DC Fandom or not? So honestly, Aaron, I myself am not going to be terribly disappointed if they don't announce it. I'll be a little disappointed, but not terribly disappointed, because I still think it's happening. Do you think if they don't announce Henry Cavill at DC Fandom that hurts the chances that it's actually happening?
No, I don't. I really don't. I mean, I think that there's going to be other opportunities for, so when are we talking about this happening?
Saturday.
No. Sorry. When are people speculating that he will be putting on the costume again?
No idea yet. I mean, it could be appearing in the Black Adam movie, because remember, him and The Rock have the same manager. There are also talks that about maybe being in Flash with a Flashpoint movie, or J.J. Abrams has signed this massive deal. And the word is that one of the things they've handed him is Superman, and he may want Henry Cavill for it. So it could be a standalone Superman.
Well, that all affects it, because, if we're talking about him appearing in Black Adam, then, the next major event that would happen where this kind of announcement could take place probably isn't until Comic-Con of next year, right? I mean, if that's the case, then yes, if it's, Black Adam or The Flash, things that are going to be filming right away, then certainly we would see an announcement. But if it's a standalone film, then there's really no reason for them to announce it this soon out the gate. So I think,
sure, but they announced The Rock as Black Adam 5 years ago.
I know. Right. But so if I were being paid the big bucks to make the decisions, then I would, if I were going to put money on it, I would say an announcement this soon would totally be for an appearance in somebody else's film. If they don't announce it, I think that we could almost bet the house that we're going to have a standalone.
That's actually, you know what? That makes sense. If they don't announce it,
if we don't announce it, I'm calling it here. We're going to get a standalone.
I'm going to go with you. And they don't announce at DC Fandom, I think that almost guarantees he's getting a standalone movie, and they're just not ready to announce. I'm going to go with you on that.
Great.
You won me over on that. All right, Brandon writes, DC fandom panels should be short. I don't care for on-set stories and all that other stuff. I just want to see news and trailers. That's called a press release. Even if it could be a press release, having a live announcement is special. Don't need any other baggage, just the news. See, here's the thing, Brendan. You sound just like these people I was talking to saying, no, I don't want it to be longer than 10 minutes. Then as soon as that we saw they're having longer Q&As, they're all saying, oh, this is awesome that they're doing Q&As. I'm like, wait a minute. You're the same guy who was just saying you don't want it to be more than 10 minutes. But now that they're doing it, you say it's anyway. I think it is great that they're doing the extra stuff. It makes it, again, they keep calling this thing a fan event. If all you're doing is press release announcements, it's not a fan event. It's a press event. by doing all this stuff they're doing on the second day, by doing actual fan interaction and having these Q&As, which I think is brilliant for them to do, to me, that's what takes this, at least for me, that is what takes it from being just a press event to being a true fan event. And I think this is a great move on the part of DC to do this. I think this elevates what DC fandom is, even if it is inexplicably 3 weeks later. But I think it's a great move, regardless.
And is fandom always exclusively online, or is that just a COVID?
They've never had it before.
Oh, this is a brand new thing.
This is a brand new thing because of COVID. And there's no Comic-Con and
right. Okay, so I wasn't sure if this was a multi-year event and that normally it's held in person, but now they're doing it online, or if this is just like every year they do this online. Oh, interesting. Oh, good for them.
Yep. No, they've never done this before. Okay, so Hansa, give me a second here. I just had a big jump.
That's okay. I'll just keep talking until you catch up. Well, like then apparently we're going to probably see a Marvel fandom coming hot on the heels, because if this does well this year, then they're going to do it every year. If they're able to bring in advertising and find some revenue source from this, then we're probably going to have Comic-Con, DC fandom, and Marvel fandom.
Well, like, of course, Comic-Con did try to do it a few weeks ago. They did Comic-Con at home, but it was very ill-planned and very ill-prepared. And although a couple of the panels they did were great, like they did a Boys season 2 hour-long panel, which was awesome.
Who did I just see was just announced is going to be joining the cast of The Boys?
Jensen Ackles.
Yes.
Which is great.
So crazy.
From Supernatural.
And awesome.
And he's playing a Captain America type of figure.
Isn't that Homelander?
No, that's the Superman kind of. Homelander is a Superman.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Maeve is obviously a Wonder Woman character. A-Train is obviously their Flash. Black Noir is their Batman.
Got it. Okay.
Deep is Aquaman.
So he's like a captain.
Yeah, he's going to be called. His character is going to be called Soldier Boy, who was
obviously Captain America,
who fought in World War II and was the original superhero.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay. So the funny thing is that Jensen Ackles, he was either the first runner-up or like second runner-up to be Captain America behind Chris Evans.
So this is going to be a really fun project for him to work on.
And of course, the showrunner of The Boys was the guy who cast him and was the showrunner on Supernatural. Oh, and it's funny. Eric Kripke actually put out a tweet that says, "It is a weird lifelong dream of mine to give Jensen Ackles employment, and I'm going to be able to do it twice now." It was a great tweet. I absolutely loved it.
That's wonderful. If you can be the actor that any showrunner says, "It's my dream to just continue to employ you." Good for you. That's wonderful.
Let's move on here. Ryan Lohner writes, I saw Paddington, and it was probably a mistake to wait this long, since after years of people talking about it as basically the Citizen Kane of kids movies, I left thinking, really, that's it? At least Nicole Kidman is amazing in it. I'll tell you what, man, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think Paddington, no hyperbole, is awesome. Paddington 2, just as awesome. And I say this without trying to be funny or hyperbolic or anything. If they do make a Paddington 3, and it is on the par level with Paddington 1 and Paddington 2, I am telling you right now, it enters into the conversation for me for one of the top 5 greatest trilogies of all time. I'm not even joking. Wow. It's that good.
Am I going to cry, though? Is this like an Up situation?
No. It's
or
not
an Inside Out?
No, it's a really feel-good, heartwarming, charmingly funny.
Okay.
I still remember John Schnepp and I, when he was still alive, we saw the trailers for Paddington, and we were like, okay. But he and I both went I had a +1, he was my +1. We went to go see the first Paddington, and we both came out, and it was like one of those things where it's like you're both afraid to say how much you like it.
Right.
It's like, hey, that was pretty good. Yeah, that was pretty good. I mean, I really like this thing. Oh, yeah, and this other part was great. And back and forth. And within 30 seconds, we're both like, oh, my God, I love this movie. And like both Schnepp and I freaked out about it. And the 2 was just so, what is it? If you're kind and polite, the world will be right. I mean, just Paddington. Anyway, I
think we all need to watch Paddington this weekend.
And Brendan Gleeson who is one of my favorite character actors in all of Hollywood.
Brilliant in everything he does.
He pops up in part 2, and he's so good. Anyway, I'm sorry that you didn't like it as much as I did, Ryan, and that's totally cool. All film's subjective, so it didn't work for you as well, and that's fine. But I gotta tell you, I love those Paddington movies, man. All right, Canadian Singing Posty, our friend who sent you. I don't know if you ever saw the singing video.
Yes, I did. Oh my God, he's brilliant. And then I started following him, and his wife is also incredibly talented. Yes, you have to follow this guy. Say his handle again.
Canadian Singing Posty.
Canadian Singing Posty. This man sits in his postal truck
and sang for us.
And it is like, I'm like, Lin-Manuel Miranda. I actually tagged Lin-Manuel Miranda and Ava DuVernay and a friend of mine who's a casting director in New York, because he's in Toronto. This actor is in Toronto, and I said, you guys, you gotta hire this guy. He's amazing, and his wife is also an incredibly talented singer, and they sing together. And if you want, so this weekend's homework for everyone, if you're in a bad mood, if you watch the news, if you're on social media and you're just about to fling yourself out a window, watch Paddington per John Campea and watch the Canadian Singing Posty. That is my recommendation.
All right, now let's actually get to his question.
Oh, yes.
And his actual question is, hey, John, this weekend my wife and I went to the Hammer, that is Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to see friends who showed us places where they filmed Umbrella Academy Season 2 in the 60s. So cool. Also, on Friday, are you going to binge part 1 of Season 5 for Lucifer all day? I probably am. You know, it's funny how much stuff actually shoots in Hamilton. Because I remember when people first talked me into checking out Titans, I remember watching the opening scene, I'm like, that looks like Hamilton. And sure enough, I looked it up online. They shot most of it. It's crazy how many shows they shoot in Hamilton now, which is kind of nuts. But yes, I might binge it and take a break in binging to do the John Campea Show, but I might just cancel the John Campea. I don't know that yet. Keep an eye on the community tab today here on the YouTube channel. But I may skip doing the show tomorrow just so I can binge watch Lucifer. We'll have to wait and see. And of course, see Aaron on Lucifer.
Yeah, Hamilton is actually where my recently departed friend Nick Cordero is actually from.
Yeah, you know what? Which was really weird because, of course, a lot of us had followed in the news about Nick's, you know, him battling the COVID and all the implications of COVID that he had, and then sadly he passed away. And it was really weird because I remember, like, you and Tom were friends with him and his family, and seeing it on CNN as they were covering his battle.
It's crazy.
But when he passed away, I was on Facebook, and I saw all these people I know in Hamilton posting about Nick, and it was through that I realized that he was from my hometown. I didn't realize that you're from Hamilton. Yeah, that's
why did I think that you were from Saskatchewan?
No, I lived in Saskatchewan for 5 years.
Okay.
But I am a Hamilton, Ontario kid. That's the Hammer is my hometown. It is the greatest city in the world.
And where I might be moving.
And so, again, where you might and so I started seeing all these friends I knew. Like, I've got this one friend of mine, her name's Sherry, who's also a singer. And I remember seeing her specifically. She sang with him, and I saw...
Wait, her name is Sherry, and was she in Rock of Ages?
No.
Because Sherry is the name of the lead character in Rock of Ages, which Nick was in, so that would have been really crazy.
Sherry is still there. Her name's Sherry Dunn. She's still in Hamilton, but I remember seeing her and other friends of mine posting about it. I had no idea he was from Hamilton. A lot of people I knew apparently knew him, and then you obviously knew him quite well, and there you go. All right, next up. Ready Teddy Seti writes, John, you gave up on Perry Mason too soon. Not to write any spoilers, but I was thrown by the whole private eye thing. The first season is actually an origin story about how he becomes a private eye, and trust me, the story picks up. I mean, I don't know, man. I was very excited about Perry Mason. Number one, because it's HBO, and they are the best at doing series television. They are just the best at it. And I like the actor who was in the lead, and I'm a sucker for Perry Mason because, like, my mom used to watch reruns when I was a kid of Perry Mason, and I would watch it, and I'm a big sucker for these. Like, I don't care if it's Matlock or Perry Mason. I'm a sucker for legal procedural.
Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for that stuff. Or even Lucifer, which follows in the tradition of Murder of the Week kind of stuff, right? I'm a real fan of that kind of stuff. I just thought it was poorly done. Like, it did throw me for a loop that this is not Perry Mason. I mean, he's not even a lawyer, and I can get by that, but nothing about this character reminds me anything about Perry Mason at all, which is fine. It's a new character, but I just didn't like the show. And so I got 3 episodes in and then I ditched. So I don't know. Have you watched Perry Mason at all?
I have no interest in it. There's absolutely nothing about it that makes me go, oh yeah, that's something that I want to check out. I mean, if I'd heard, I'm a big fan of word of mouth, you know, so if I like to hear if other people are saying, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. That's usually how I find shows that I get intrigued by, because there's so many things to watch that I just don't want to. I mean, I feel the same way about television that I felt about dating. Like, unless I know that this is going to be a good time,
this is gonna go.
Unless I know it's going to be a good time, I just don't want to waste my time, you know? So like, I like sloppy seconds.
You know what? Okay.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm just.
But that is actually kind of a crazy thing, because in all the years that I knew you, I never knew if you even dated much. Like
I was very stealth about it.
Yeah, you were, because like I knew about some of your older relationships. Like I knew about some of your past relationships. Which we won't mention, but I knew about some.
I don't even know who you know about, but we'll talk about that afterwards.
Oh, I know about a couple of the show business related ones. Anyway, we shall.
We will definitely
not talk about on here.
Yeah,
but like I knew about those ones, but like I remember always wondering, like even when I would go over to your house to watch your appearance on one of the shows or one of the shows, I'd be like, okay, so who here is she seeing? And I'm trying to play this little game with myself. Who's she seeing? And it's just like, Tom kind of came up once, and then you were engaged.
Right.
So you were always very on the down low about the relationships you were in and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was. Because I'm also like, I was not one of these people that was like a perpetual girlfriend. In fact, I told Tom on like probably the second week that we were dating, I said, here's the deal. I like you a lot and I want to see where this is going. So I'm going to do something that I normally don't do. And so maybe this is going to work out in my favor, but I'm going to stop dating everybody else. Cause I said, you know, like sometimes when you're dating around, you know, you have we call it the rotation, you know, where, you know, you have a couple people that you are dating or whatever and hanging out with and seeing if something works out better than something else. And so I said to him, I know neither of us were expecting this development in our friendship to happen. So I know you're dating people and I have a couple people that I've been seeing, but I'm going to not date anybody else. I'm cutting everybody else off of my romantic life and I'm going to focus on you. And I'm not expecting you to say that you're my boyfriend. I'm not expecting you to be committed to me right away. But all I ask is that if at any time you ever get to a point where you don't see us potentially having a future, just let me know. Don't waste my time. I said, because I am not interested in having a boyfriend for 5 years. I want to get married. I want to have kids, maybe with you, maybe not with you, but that's where I'm going. And if that's not where you're going, or you know that's not where you want to go with me, just let me loose. So I think that's also part of the reason is I kind of like, if it wasn't working with someone after a couple months, I was like, peace, bye-bye, don't waste my time. And I won't waste yours.
Speaking of your time, we kept you overtime. We were already past 11:30.
But I'm having so much fun. Joey, it's time to say goodbye.
Joey's laying down by my.
Joey, do you want to say goodbye to the people? She's like, fuck off.
Yeah, she's like just sleeping by my feet.
That's the look that she gives me when I try to take her for a walk before 9 a.m.
Or when I try to get up before 9 a.m. Listen, thank you for being here. Of course, everybody
so much fun today.
Everybody can see you on Lucifer starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
You'll be playing Mandy on Lucifer.
On episode 2.
But other than that, where can people follow you in your adventures online?
Oh my goodness. If you're not a racist and you're not an asshole, I would love for you to come visit and chat with me on Instagram or Twitter at Aaron L. Cummings.
All right, Aaron, thanks a lot for being here. And we'll, of course, see you again later.
Bye.
All right, guys. For now, though, we still have some time left here. Let's get through as many of your questions as we can before we wrap up here today. We're going to keep things going here with Alan, who writes, Hi, John and crew. I saw an article that mentioned that Lawrence Fishburne wasn't even asked to come back for Matrix 4 as Morpheus. Isn't that kind of disrespectful? And what do you think? I would love to see Morpheus make a return. Hashtag Team Godzilla. Team Kong, man. Team Kong. All right. Honestly, no. Here's the thing. You know what the filmmakers of Matrix owe Lawrence Fishburne, who I love. I love Lawrence Fishburne. You know what they owe him? They owe him a paycheck for the work that he does. That's what they owe him. They don't owe him a role in Matrix 4. It is not disrespectful. Listen, the characters, the movies are not there to serve the actors. The actors are there to serve the characters, and the characters are there to serve the movie. And if the movie they came up with, if the story they have does not include Morpheus, then you don't go, oh, well, it'll be disrespectful of us not to have Lawrence Fishburne. No. The actor is there to serve the character, and the character is there to serve the story. And if the story doesn't have a need for the character, for whatever reason, only the writers know what that reason might be, then you would be doing a disservice to the movie by forcing in the Morpheus character. Now, Morpheus is my favorite character in The Matrix. Lawrence Fishburne is one of my favorite actors. By the way, if you hadn't seen him in Hannibal, he's so good in Hannibal. Anyway, but honestly, the movie comes first. The movie is the most important thing. The story is the most important thing. And if the story doesn't include that character, then you don't force that character in just so you can force in an actor. So no, I was surprised last year, when we talked about this last year when it came out that Lawrence Fishburne wasn't going to be in Matrix 4. I was surprised by that, but do I find that in any way disrespectful to the character? No, they don't owe Lawrence Fishburne anything. If they need him and he wants to be in it, then they owe him a paycheck if he wants to do it. But he doesn't owe it to them to be in a Matrix 4 if he doesn't want to be in it. And they don't owe it to him to put him in the movie if they don't have a need for the character. So anyway, that's just kind of the way I see it, Alan. And we'll see how it kind of comes around. All right. The Sock writes. Are we on the right spot? Yes, we are. The Sock writes, hey, just wanted to make everyone aware when let me try this again. Just wanted to make everyone aware of this when going to buy a ticket for AMC. Make sure you reactivate your plan before trying to purchase. Otherwise, it will keep saying verification needed. It was very frustrating because their help center was closed. Yeah, a lot about AMC theaters, and a lot of theaters are still closed, even though they're opening for tickets right now. I actually ended up paying for my ticket for New Mutants, because again, Rob and I are driving to Las Vegas on Thursday so we can go see New Mutants at the AMC theater out there. But I did not get a free ticket with my A-list. I chose not to reactivate my A-list yet, because I honestly don't know if they're going to show one movie and then everything's going to shut down again. So I chose, you know what? I'll just pay the $11 for my ticket. I'll just pay the $11 for my ticket, and I'm going to leave my A-list deactivated for now, so I'm not paying for it right now. So that was the choice I made, but for different people made different things. But that's a really good thing to bring to people's awareness, Sock. Thank you for putting that in there, man. That's very considerate of you. All right, and Anonymous Viewer writes, for those of you who wanted more story after the Angel series finale, Joss Whedon co-wrote an awesome follow-up comic called After the Fall. I've never read it myself. So we were talking about the Buffy spin-off show Angel, which I actually thought was better than Buffy, but I know that puts me in the minority, and that's fine. But I really like the Angel series, but it had a very weird ending because they only found out with a few episodes left to go in their season, and they thought they were getting another season, that was going to be their final season. So they had to wrap up the whole show in just a few episodes. And so Angel ends off on this cliffhanger that was kind of weird as a finale. Anyway, you're right. I had heard that Whedon then wrote a follow-up comic. I'd never read it myself, but thanks for reminding me about that, Anonymous. I should probably go check that out. All right, Eduardo O'Neill writes, I wish we could hear about a new movie/TV project for the first time when production is not far off from starting. Hearing about grand projects years out for half of them to get canceled along the way is not fun. Can you tell me the disadvantages to this? There's not disadvantages to it. The problem is just impossible to do it. Look. For something the scale of, say, Avengers 5, okay? Let's just take Avengers 5 as an example, as a hypothetical example. The world wants to know about Avengers 5. And the sheer number of people, like if you're shooting a little Anna Goes to Lunch movie, okay? Let's say you're making a little movie, a little indie film called Anna Goes to Lunch. There might be 20 people who know about it in the studio that have greenlit it, everything. The director knows about it. The writers know about it. The studio executive knows about it. Their assistants know about it. Maybe 20 people. Because it's a little film, whatever. And nobody cares about Anna Goes to Lunch. The movie might turn out to be great, but right now nobody cares about it in advance. You make an Avengers 5, that the whole world wants to know about. And on top of that, a lot more people need to be in the loop. So instead of maybe 20 people knowing about Anna Goes to Lunch, the movie, there's probably going to be hundreds of people that have to be brought in on the approval processes, the budgeting, and then you have to start booking. Like, we may not start shooting this thing for another year, but we have to book our crew and our talent and everybody involved in this movie. We have to book them now for a year in advance to make sure they are booked and they've got their schedules blocked off to make Avengers 5. So now you have hundreds and hundreds of people who know about it and a world that wants to know about it. It's not a matter of the studio not putting out a press release. It's a matter of the studio needs to be ahead of it before it just leaks, because someone's going to find out. Somebody at the Hollywood Reporter with all of their contacts is going to find out. Somebody at Variety with all of their contacts is going to find out. Somebody at Deadline or The Wrap or some website coming soon, or somebody like that just happens to know somebody that knows somebody, they're going to find out. And so studios want to stay ahead of it. So no, there's no drawback to keeping it quiet. And I think you'll see, Eduardo, that a lot of movies we don't find out about until they go into production. There's a lot of announcement that comes out that's like, oh, hey, just got announced that this movie has gone into production on something. It's going to be a movie about this, this, and this, but it's a smaller project, one that not as many people are ravenously interested in. And so, that's when we first find out about it, when it either starts shooting or is about to start shooting. But for big, big major projects, it's very, very difficult to keep that under wraps because more people want to know about it and more people have to be in the loop about it just to prepare for it. So it's, again, no disadvantages, but that's why it happens. That's why it happens, and that's why it's always going to kind of happen that way. All right. Dark Knight Rises writes, is it me, or does it seem many American stars really can't do British accents at all when their characters demand it, i.e. Kevin Costner in Robin Hood, Robert Redford in Out of Africa, William Hurt? Actually, I don't think William Hurt's all that bad at it. Anyway, yet the British have no trouble with American accents. You know what, Dark Knight Rises, I disagree. I've seen many actors who have played British characters, and then I heard them do an interview and I'm gone, holy crap, they don't have a British accent. I didn't even realize they don't have a British accent. Just like I see a lot of British actors play North American characters, and then I hear them do an interview where they actually speak. This happens with James McAvoy a lot with me, where they speak in their actual accent. I'm like, holy crap, I didn't even know. But I've seen it work both ways. I think the very fact that you have to go back 30 years to a Kevin Costner in Robin Hood example, it kind of proves the point that normally it's not an issue. There are examples of Australian and British actors who do American accents where I can tell that's not their thing. And there are some examples where American actors do a British accent where you can tell it's not their thing. But for the most part, I find actors on both sides of it actually do a pretty good job of it. So that's just kind of my thought on it. At any rate, Dark Knight Rises. Thanks for sending that in. All right, Orange Hand writes, I don't know if you're a history buff, I kind of am, but is there any period of history or any historical figure you'd like to see a movie about? I'd like to see Ridley Scott go back to Tripoli project that fell through before he did Kingdom of Heaven. There are certain elements of history that I love. Particularly, I am fascinated with the Roman Empire. Now, I initially got really fascinated with the Roman Empire because I was a seminary student. I was obviously studying the history of New Testament and all that kind of stuff, and I was studying Greek and blah, blah. So I really became quite fascinated with the Roman Empire. And so I think we've had some television, like HBO shows Rome and things like that. We've had stuff like that, but I'm always a sucker for a really good thing that focuses on certain periods within the Roman Empire. So you do anything like that, you instantly get my attention. All right, an anonymous viewer writes, will we hear anything about Michael Keaton coming back as Batman during Fandom? I'm assuming slim to none, because that would really overshadow Pattinson and Cavill. No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't at all. And here's why. I do think we'll hear something about him because it's already been announced, right? The reports have already come out that Michael Keaton is going to be reprising the cape and cowl, but we don't know if it's going to be for a 5-minute appearance in something, a 30-second appearance in something, or a 20-minute appearance. We just don't know that yet. So I think there's a there's an okay chance that something about Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne gets mentioned at DC Fandom. That will not overshadow either Pattinson or Henry Cavill because of this. For those people watching this who are like 35 and older, Michael Keaton Batman's a big deal. But there's a lot of people that are like, say, 30 or younger that have never seen the Michael Keaton Batman movie. And when they think of Batman, they don't think of Michael Keaton. That's just the reality of it. I'm not saying that's the way it should be. I'm just saying everybody knows Michael Keaton played Batman, but for a lot of people, the first Batman they saw on the big screen was not Michael Keaton's Batman. So I don't think Michael Keaton as Batman, while it'll be huge to people like me, I don't think it would be bigger than Pattinson, and I don't think it would be bigger than Henry Cavill. I certainly don't think it would overshadow Robert Pattinson as Batman. I certainly don't think it would overshadow Henry Cavill as Superman. So I don't think that would be a problem, but I expect that there will be. Not guaranteed. And again, we don't know if it'll be a cameo or whatever, but I expect there will be some mention of him at it. To what degree, I'm not sure, but I expect there will be something. All right. I'm Batman writes, I feel like your Campea Classroom should have its own segment, like what late night show hosts do with music and graphics. Maybe I will. Maybe at some point I will. Maybe we should make the whole Campea Classroom thing an actual thing we do. I don't know. I like doing it. I think it's cool to kind of organize thoughts that way as we're doing the show. But hey, that's just me. All right, let's move on here. Thank you for that. I'm Batman. All right, next up, we got Jay Bling writes, I realized what I think is my biggest issue with the new Star Wars movies. Where was the Enterprise? How could you do Star Wars movies without the Enterprise? Joke inspired by Aaron's prank from last year. For those of you who don't know what Jay Bling is talking about, Aaron, and I put up I segmented this out and put it up on the YouTube itself. When Aaron, me, and Chris Carr were doing an episode together, Aaron got me really good because I thought I was going to fall out of my chair because we were talking about something Star Trek related, and she mentioned something Star Wars. I said, no, you're thinking about Star Wars. She goes, aren't they the same thing? And I thought I was going to have a stroke. I was like, oh, like I almost died. And then she let us in on oh my God. It's been a long time since I've been got that good. It's been a long time since I've been got that good. All right. Andy Hong writes, 1 of 3. Hey, John, when you were doing the Feeding America Marathon, and again, thank you to everybody who contributed to that, I donated $500. Wow, you did? That's crazy. I donated $500 and asked you what direction Jensen Ackles, I remember this, what direction Jensen Ackles' career would go after Supernatural ends. With the recent casting of him in The Boys, I wanted to say I called it. You did, because I remember one of the things you gave a number of options, if I remember correctly, and one of them was, hey, Eric is now show running The Boys. Maybe he ends up over there. Took 3 guesses at what route was likely to have chosen, but I'm most happy that he chose this versus the other 2, Arrowverse and Doom Patrol. However, I would have liked for him to do what you suggested, as well, do smaller indie projects and work his reputation up. By the way, if Kripke could also get Jared, Misha, and Mark Shepard on The Boys with Jensen and Jim Beaver, he could make a spin-off of them and call it Hello Boys. Sam and Dean would go from hunting the supernatural to hunting soups. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I remember that. You specifically threw out there as one of the possibilities of going to work with Eric Kripke again. And lo and behold, here we are. Now, I do not think, Jared's already got another show lined up with Walker, Texas Ranger. Mark Shepard is already on Doom Patrol, although he only has a recurring character. He only pops up once in a while. He's not on every episode. But he's on that. I don't know what else Misha's doing, but you got to be careful because then at some point it feels like a shtick. It feels a little too gimmicky. Like for him to have Jensen come over, that's cool. For him to have Jensen and Jared come over, that would be a little silly, I think. But at any rate, you're absolutely right, Andy. You did call it. And at least one of your options. And here we are not so long later. So well said, my friend. Take your victory lap because you deserve it. You earned it. All right. Alan Dale writes, How likely do you think the 2022 Oscars could increase the nominees for each category if the 2021 Oscars are canceled? For example, 5 increases to 7 and 10 to 12 nominees due to the sheer numbers. I think fairly good. I think the chances of that are good because, look, if New Mutants can come out and if Tenet can comes out and then more movies move release dates earlier to take advantage of theaters starting to reopen, I think there's a good shot that the Oscars happen I think where there's a schedule right now, April. I think they happen on schedule. But right now, there's a good chance the Oscars don't happen at all for this coming year. If that happens, and they have to cancel the Oscars until the following year, I think there's a decent chance they increase for 1 year and 1 year only. They increase the number of nominees for each category. Because, you know, a lot of them didn't have a chance. So I don't think they go from 5 nominees to 10, but I think what you're saying, Alan, makes a lot of sense. Increase for 1 year only, 5 Best Actor nominees to 7 or 8. Because we've got to accommodate for an extra year that didn't get in here. I think that would make sense. And I think if the Oscars do get canceled in 2021, which is very possible, then I do think they expand temporarily the number of nominees for each category. And I think that would be the right thing to do. It's well thought out there, Alan. All right, an anonymous viewer writes, "Hey, John and gang. Years ago, I Googled who owned Harry Potter. Warner Brothers, of course. A while ago, I heard you say it would be going to Peacock because Disney or NBC now owns the rights. My question is, who will be receiving that additional $13 million, Warner Brothers or NBC? Okay, let's break this down because there's some misunderstanding here. That $13 million that our anonymous viewer is talking about is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone or Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, depending on which country you're talking about, just re-released in China and had like a huge $13 million opening weekend in China. And that 13 point something million dollars pushed it over the $1 billion mark. So we have a Harry Potter movie is the newest member of the $1 billion club, even though it's been many years since it's been out. So there's an extra $13 million. So asking, who gets that $13 million? Well, here's the thing. NBC does not own Harry Potter. Let's be very, very clear about that. Harry Potter is still, for the most part, owned by J.K. Rowling, but all the film rights and everything, that's owned by Warner Brothers, okay? Then why is the Harry Potter movies now on NBC Peacock? Because they got the streaming rights. They acquired the streaming rights, at least a license that is finite. It's not permanent. I don't know how many years it's for, whether it's for 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, I don't know. But it is a temporary license, right? They have a temporary license. But for example, NBC and Universal right now do not have the rights to say, make a new Harry Potter movie if they wanted to. NBC Universal does not have the rights to make a Harry Potter movie or make a Harry Potter show. They simply have the streaming rights, a lease on them, a license to temporarily have them on their streaming service, but that license will eventually run out. And then it goes back over to Warner Brothers and will pop up on HBO Max. So yes, that's all it is. That's all it is. So the primary recipients of that $13 million extra dollars they just made in China are J.K. Rowling and Warner Brothers. That's who gets that money. All right, next up. James Germain writes, "Hey, John, saw on your Twitter that you got to see Lovecraft County." I keep saying county. It's country. Lovecraft Country. I keep saying Lovecraft County for some reason. One question. What happens when you get bit by a vampire? LOL, keep it filthy. I'll tell you what. If you have not seen episode 1 of Lovecraft Country yet, I highly recommend it. I was a few days late, decided to check it out because I heard a bunch of people say they really like it. I was also interested because Anne's friend, Jamie Chung, is in this show, although she doesn't appear in the first few episodes. But I heard a lot of you guys say it was really good. So I checked it out and I thought it was great. This is weird. And I can't explain this. I got into a conversation with somebody online about this, but there is a car chase scene. I'm not going to give anything away, but there is a car chase scene with 2 cars driving the speed limit. And it was thrilling. Like, had me gripping my seat and like the tension and the thrill of it. 2 cars strictly driving the speed limit. And they made it so it was absolutely exciting and thrilling all at the same time. I couldn't believe it. And then they get to some stuff at the end of the episode. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot wait for the next episode. It's really good. If you haven't seen it yet, do check it out. Thanks for that, James. All right, next up, we just have a couple of minutes left here, guys. Ted Lasso writes, hey, John, I think you should really give my show a chance. That's right. There's a new show called Ted Lasso with that I know nothing about other than the fact that it's on Apple TV. Other than that, I know nothing about it. I think you should really give my show a chance. I play an American football coach who gets a job managing an English Premier Soccer League team. Really? Is that what it's about? Oh, by the way, we are on Apple TV, not HBO Max. As far as you know, you can get Apple TV on Roku. Yes, I have Apple TV, as a matter of fact, because I got a year of Apple TV Plus for free because I bought an iPad. And I didn't realize. So I bought an iPad and like 2 weeks later, I get this email from Apple saying, hey, because you made a qualifying purchase, you get a free year of Apple TV Plus, which I wasn't even planning on watching. But then I saw For All Mankind and I saw Morning Show, and they're both great. Next up for me on Apple TV Plus is that Chris Evans show that I've heard is really good, and I haven't watched it yet. But yeah, I know nothing about this Ted Lasso show. I know nothing about. I haven't seen a preview for it. I haven't seen a trailer for it. Not a thing. But maybe I'll have to at least go and watch the trailer for it. I'll keep my eye open for that. All right. Ura Boomer writes, I agree that HBO Max should really be on Roku, but I don't think you realize that you already have it. If you pay for HBO, you can get Max automatically. Same email, same password. The app is also on Xbox and PS4, so you can watch it anytime. You're welcome. Nah, not interested. No, I said this before. Look, I know there are ways. We've talked about this several times already. Keep up. There are ways to get access to HBO Max on a Roku right now. You can sideload it as a third-party extension on another app. For instance, I believe Hulu, for example. You can add HBO Max to Hulu as a third-party application buried within Hulu. And I think there's 1 or 2 other ways to do it as well. Here's the thing. It's just a matter of I've become accustomed to the convenience of how look, the way I Roku. I turn on my Roku, there are my channels. I just select what I want to watch, and there I go. I even canceled Stars. Like, I used to have Stars, or Showtime, I should say. I used to have Showtime. Because the reason I got Showtime was because I used to like to watch Ray Donovan. I love Ray Donovan. I love that Liev Schreiber show. I love Ray Donovan. Anyway, but I had to side install it at the time through my Amazon app, right? So I had to get it, but as an add-on to Amazon. And so whenever I wanted to watch Ray Donovan, first world problems to the extreme. Whenever I wanted to watch Ray Donovan, I had to go into Roku, then go into my my Amazon Prime app, then go into my channels thing, and then one of the things would appear is Showtime. Then click on Showtime, and then I'd be in a Showtime environment where I could pick what I wanted to watch on Showtime. And I'm like, everything else is just too easy. And I eventually canceled Showtime because I'm like, I can't be bothered to do it that way. Listen, my whole thing is this. As HBO, and they will be fine. HBO Max is going to be fine. It's going to be great. And eventually they will be on Roku. And I look forward to that day. But as a Roku customer, if HBO Max's message to me is, you're not important to us to make sure we're on Roku. You Roku customers, you're not important enough to us to do what we need to do to make sure our app is on Roku, so you have the easiest customer experience with our app as possible. You're not important enough to us to do it. So my attitude is, okay, HBO Max, if I as a consumer am not important enough to you to make sure that my experience using your app is the easiest and most convenient way to do it by putting it on Roku, if I'm not important enough to you, then you're not important enough to me to sign up for you. It's just that simple. So I don't owe HBO Max or Disney Plus or any streaming service anything. I'm the customer. It's my money. And if you're going to say I'm not important enough to you, okay, then I'm not going to pay you your money. But again, long term, it's all going to be fine. HBO Max is going to be great. They're going to be on Roku. They're going to be on Amazon Fire Stick. All this will get worked out. but I'll wait until they do get it worked out. Once they tell me as a Roku customer, as a Roku using customer, that I'm valuable and important enough to them that they're going to make sure they give me the user experience that I get to have with Disney Plus, the user experience I get to have with Netflix, the user experience I get to have with Hulu. Once they tell me that as a Roku customer, I'm significant enough that they want to give me that same convenience of a user experience as I get with all those other things, then I'll become a customer of HBO Max. Until then, I'll just wait, but that's just me. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. There are a bunch of other questions still to come here, guys, from Nightman, Ryan Loner, BC33, and others. Do not worry, guys. We're going to get to your questions first on the next show. So the next show we do, we're going to start off with your questions, and we'll make sure we get all caught up. So there's that. Guys, special thank you to all of you who did send in questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but number two, you supported this channel while you did it, and all of us here, thank you guys very much for that. That will do it for me for now, guys. Thank you so much for being here. My name is John Campea, and guys, do the main 4 things. Stay smart, stay safe, take care of yourselves. For God's sakes, please take care of the people around you. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.